Welcome to Facts at 5. I'm Michael Clark. It is Tuesday, May 26, 2020, and I'm here at the LTV Media Center here in Waynescott, New York, with my lovely co-host, Morgan Vaughan. Say hello, Morgan.
Hello, Morgan.
And so what's going on in the East Hampton Star today?
Well, for one thing, we're in a new space. I don't know if you noticed.
Did I?
That we're not in our regular studio. This is going to be sort of our new studio. It's our podcast studio. I don't know what this place is called.
Right.
Studio XY. I don't know.
Right.
We'll name it something.
Now we're studio. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we should name it. A person should give us money, and then we name it after them.
Okay. So all you folks out there with money.
There you go.
You can donate for our studio.
And we will name it something. We will name it your name. Okay, so the big news from Scoop last week, that you seem to be getting all the scoops from Peter Van Scoyoc.
Yes.
But in the Star today, Christopher Walsh wrote a story about what happened on Facts at 5 on Friday when Peter Van Scoyoc said that he had been working to help facilitate a testing site, and there's going to be a testing site in Montauk for COVID-19. Which is fantastic.
That's great.
So that it is going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which will offset the times that it's already in East Hampton on Wednesdays and Fridays. Mm-hmm. As of yet, we do not know what the number is to call, but we will find that out as soon as we can, and we will let people know. But this is great. So people from Montauk do no longer have to drive to God knows where to get tested for COVID-19. And it seems to me that it's probably going to be at the fire department.
Yeah, because they helped set it up, and in conjunction with Southampton Hospital, Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, officially, and apparently a private business owner, which is the same way it happened over in Southampton, actually. And I'm certain that it's going to be at
the fire department.
Yeah.
So that's great. So as soon as we know the number, I have it on the slate just as it's going to be happening. But that is a big deal for us out here because we have been waiting for a long time, and the town has really come through for us.
Yeah. And Peter, as you said, he mentioned this on Friday on the show, and Peter Van Scoyoc, when he was talking about it, he was really complimentary of the people in the town of East Hampton in terms of how they're handling this. We still have the lowest number of any township on Long Island putting Shelter Island aside,
right?
Because they have a moat around them, so it's hard to get to them. And, he was really happy with the people responded. You hear the stories of people refusing to wear masks or doing this and doing that. But I think essentially people are doing the right thing. And I think the other point that he brought out, and you've mentioned this a couple of times actually on the show, that now adding this Dr. Bruce Polsky, an infectious disease specialist, as one of the two emergency medical technicians, as well as two emergency medical technicians. They are advising the town officials and reviewing the reopening plans as recommended by the Business Recovery Group, which was convened last month.
Right.
So we're getting, everything's inclusive, and the science is involved, and things are happening, and now we see where it goes. It's got to stay the course. And it kind of leads into a story also in the Star by our own Chrissy Sampson Nauer. And she writes that on Saturday, Governor Andrew Cuomo and Suffolk County Executive Steve Malone announced Long Island will likely begin phase 1 of the reopening the economy on Wednesday, as long as current trends continue in the slowdown of COVID-19. The progress is continuing, he said. That is great news. People are ready to hit that phase 1, get back and to do it safely.
And that is tomorrow.
That is
Wednesday.
Tomorrow. Yes.
That is tomorrow. I don't know if this. I just looked at the metrics and it looked like we were still at 5 out of 7, but that site is now being updated. So I'm not quite sure what's going on at the SuffolkCountyNY.gov.
You know what happens with the metrics?
Metrics can change.
Metrics can
magically change. So, but that is great news, though. If we can, and now phase 1 is what?
Good question. I think that's just the immediate, some of the things that kind of, I guess, spider out from essential.
So
businesses.
I know that phase 3 is the arts and the theaters and the cinemas and everything. So that's not part of that. But is this retail stores or is that?
Well, Peter said that he was going to look at them because, for example, I think it's phase 3 or 4, like the Longhouse Reserve he mentioned on the program. They would fall actually into phase 4 reopening. Now, if you go to the Longhouse Museum there, that essentially you can walk around there for a long time and not come in contact with anybody. Do they really have to? Wait until phase 4. So I have a really good feeling in talking with Peter that they're probably going to look at a lot of these things individually, and we'll know. They'll come out with a concrete plan, but I don't think we can pigeonhole people into what businesses say all painters are involved or whatever.
Right.
It's going to be.
So wait, is phase 4 the arts?
I think phase 4 is the
Okay,
arts.
so I misspoke before. It's not phase 3. So phase 4 is like what we consider to be entertainment, cinema, etc.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But exactly. I mean, obviously, walking around Longhouse or walking in any museum, you can actively socially distance just like you do in a grocery store.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we got to remember is the fact that we hit the ground running with this, and we kind of chunked it all out into things that worked. And, now maybe, in retrospect, we look back and say, yeah, maybe that shouldn't have been in phase 1. That needs to be here. And so the good part is that they're relooking at those things and they're adjusting.
Well, for the next time either there's
next
pandemic or the next time there's a big wave, it would be great. I was thinking about this today. If we knew at the beginning, we're going to do this for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And then see where we're going to go from there. It has been, because at the beginning, we're all like, whatever. Like, this is going to be whatever.
We should have a dry run.
Right. Because it's all very confusing. Yeah. And there's a lot of different, I was thinking about the pet groomers. My dogs need to go to the vet.
Right.
And they're not allowed to right now. And so, unless there's an emergency. So maybe, I hope that's in part of phase 1. I should have looked that up before.
I need a haircut, so I know.
See, there you go. You don't really know. Anyway. All right, that sounds good. So hopefully we will, by this time tomorrow, we will know if phase 1 is opened, and we will have a better, accurate way of describing what the phases are.
Yeah, but I
which
think,
I feel like I've known.
Yeah.
And I just
Well, it changed.
Memorial Day weekend. I don't know what happened.
It's constantly changing. I'm not sure they know. But I think the important thing is that they're looking at it from a scientific view and with safety concerns and all of those things, and like. We've said it's really up to the people. You know what I mean? I was talking to somebody from New Jersey who happens to be the mayor over at a township in New Jersey, and on the Jersey Shore. So you can imagine they have the same situation that we have. People calling, asking when things are going to be open, when things aren't going to be open. And he said, "Hey, we can enforce, and we don't have the police force to be able to." Give tickets and do all those things like it's, martial law or something. It's really up to the people. We need to handle this individually, and we need to handle this in a way that makes sense. And if you see somebody walking down the road, it's going to be hard that they don't have a mask on. Maybe they don't, there could be a reason for it. I'm just, you're looking at me like, Mike, you're making excuses for these people again. I
never say that to you.
No, but you know what I mean? I that's, we can go and we can point fingers as much as we want, but look at ourselves and pay attention to what we're doing and onward we go.
Right.
So what else is going on?
Well, some crazy sort of disappointing news for this summer. Let's say the old gray lady of East Hampton, in terms of the thing you do every summer, the LVIS Fair, that wonderful group of women who have literally changed the landscape in East Hampton over the past 125 years.
Yeah.
Literally. There were none of these trees were here. None of this was this. But the LVIS has made this what has been called the most beautiful town in the United States.
Okay.
And the LVIS has a wonderful fair every year. This year, it used to be at Mulford Farm, which is what I remember going to the fair when I was little, but now it is at their headquarters right by John Papa's in the village. And unfortunately, this year, they have canceled the fair in anticipation of wanting to curb the infections from COVID-19.
Unheard of, right?
It is almost unheard of. In fact, the fair's slogan is, "It's always fair weather."
Ah.
And it is means that they will go on with the show no matter what. They have apparently canceled it only 2 times before in the 120. This is the 125. I think next year's 125-year history. One was in World War I. In 1916, it was not apparently due to the pandemic, which I was kind of hoping that it was, because that would be a nice, not hoping, but you know what I mean? Like, it would have been a nice thing for it to have been the same thing. But the other one was during the Depression.
Right.
So it was canceled then as well. Hopefully that's not going to be a correlation that I can make.
Yeah.
But that is, so the LVIS Fair is canceled. And this is a big deal for them because this fair was going to be the kickoff for their 125 years celebration that's going to end next year's fair. So that is going to, so some things are going to be postponed.
Okay.
Until July 31st, 2021, which is the 125th year.
Well, it's probably good. I mean, it would probably be frowned upon, if they tried to do it. So.
Well,
probably
and
the
you
right
don't want
thing to
people
do.
getting sick.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, that would be terrible. Their cookbook is out, so you can go and look at their cookbook on lvis.org and see if you want to get that. And, we'll just try to remember that it is always fair weather somewhere.
Somewhere, right? All right. So then, hey, did you know that on Wednesday, tomorrow, Guildhall staff is here for you? So now, what that means is, have you ever wanted to ask the Guildhall team a question? Like, what is life? What is the meaning of life, perhaps?
I know a lot of those Guildhall people, so yeah.
Yeah. And so now's the time to put that question to them and get some quality private time to discuss whatever is on your mind. You can ask questions, about shows, and discuss your work or receive advice on proposals and projects. Or if you want to pitch a show, explore programming possibilities, or just chat with someone great that you've seen and want to share with the community. So anyway, you can register for these 10-minute remote one-on-one Zoom appointments with Christina Strasfield, who's a museum director and chief curator, on the 27th. And then they're doing it again on June the 3rd with our friend Anthony Madonna, who is the Patty Kenner Fellow in Arts and Education. So should you be inclined, you can go to their website and check it out.
And that is guildhall.org.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
And what else?
Programming note for today, the interview is, you talked to Angela before,
I did.
Mrs. O'Brien.
Right, yeah.
We cannot say this first name. I'm sorry. The spelling is too difficult for me. I don't want to mispronounce her first name. It's like a nice Gaelic name.
Right.
But Ms. O'Brien, the Oncological Social Worker from the Ellen Hermanson Foundation, is talking to Angela today.
Yeah, so that'll be right after this. And then just another programming note down the road a little over a week, we'll be broadcasting the Feed the Need, the Best Jams. This will be a good music program. It'll be on June 6th at 8 p.m. on Channel 20, or you can stream it at ltveh.org. And a lot of people involved with this, LNG, WLNG, AFTI.org, SagHarborMusic.org, AllArts.org, which is PBS. They'll be showing it, and some great musicians. You get Randy Brecker and Loudon Wainwright and Judy Carmichael and a bunch of local folks like Gene Casey and Nancy Atlas and things like that. So they're going to be putting together this show. Be about a little over an hour, and they'll be trying to raise some money for AFTI to raise the resources for the food pantries.
And AFTI is also the All for the East End, which donates to all the food pantries. So if you give to them, they'll give to all the food pantries in the area.
Exactly. That's exactly what they do. So a little more to follow on that, and we'll be interviewing Joe Lauro about that next week. And so once again, thank you to our sponsor for Facts at 5, Sound Aircraft Services. Follow us on social media, ltveh.org.
Yeah.
That's a weird room. Yeah.
Phase one.
That's right. Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for our interview.
Thanks, guys. Today we're going to talk about something very important during this COVID-19. People who are dealing with a cancer diagnosis or have had cancer or going through treatment, how are they coping in terms of this pandemic? We're going to speak today with someone from the Ellen Hermanson Foundation. She is a licensed certified social worker and an oncological social worker. Her name is Edyle O'Brien, and I'm very happy that she's joining us today. Edyle, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Tell us, first of all, what you do in terms of Ellen Hermanson and the outreach, and then we'll get into specific questions.
Wonderful. So I'm a clinical certified social worker, and what I do is I'm available for anybody who's going through whatever challenges, everyday challenges specific to cancer, for individuals, for couples, for families, and I do it either individually or through a group platform. And mostly people who are having a mammogram that's suspicious or pre-diagnosis, or people who've been diagnosed with cancer. We support them. The Ellen Hermanson Foundation is really spectacular. I mean, they've been here on the forefront for the last 25 years, actually.
Yeah.
And so we support people throughout the process. So it's common for me to work with somebody over a period of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. If someone were to die, I do have a background in hospice and I worked in the hospital. So to support them through whatever stage and phase they're in, and even through the grieving process when someone has died, to help them make end of life decisions, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty comprehensive in terms of supporting people where they're at after a cancer diagnosis. During and after a cancer diagnosis.
So you do like one-on-one sessions. How does that work? Let's say you have to be out on the East End. Basically, this is all through Ellen Hermanson. So it's a free service, right? Where somebody makes an appointment, like a therapy session with you, courtesy of Ellen Hermanson. Tell me that. So what happens? They reach out and say, "I need to talk."
Yes. They reach out. It's usually either through the breast center, the Ellen Hermanson Breast Center, or since we're known now over the last 20 plus years, the American Cancer Society, different community resources people find out either on the internet or through their friends, or, somebody knows of somebody who's a pal. And so they contact me either by phone or text or email, and we set up an appointment. And I speak with them, or not anymore, but sometimes meet with them in person, sometimes even go do home visits if needed. Right. Someone can't travel, or see them in the hospital.
Okay, so let's talk about the things that people who reach out to you talk about. Is there a common thread during this period, or is it, what are you hearing from people? How has it compounded some of the anxieties that I would think are natural to what they're going through anyway?
Well, a lot of people are feeling the trauma of what happened when they were diagnosed. Aspects of their journey at that time that they didn't really experience because they may have been frozen, or they may have been, completely shut down just to cope with what was happening at the time. So some people are getting re-traumatized. Some people who have had anxiety to begin with are finding that it's really hard to cope with that. And then there's a flip side where a lot of people are saying, you know what, I love this, like not having to meet people and have time to do stuff and clean my house. And so, there is really the entire spectrum. It's pretty hard to say that everybody is, there's different degrees, and just like in life, some people are just going through the ebb and flow of what's happening now. Based on, God knows, the information we're getting and what else is happening in the larger culture. And
I guess what I want to first ask you is, how do you help people who it's such a to the core challenge when you get that diagnosis, right? And this is a challenge for people just in general, like the uncertainty. Am I going to live through this? And with the pandemic, it's very parallel in a lot of ways. What's it going to be like? Am I going to get through it? And when I get through it, if I get through it, what is it going to look like? How do you deal? I guess my first topic is, well, how do you deal with people who have such anxiety and such uncertainty? Where do you help them? How do you help them focus?
Well, first of all, Angela, you've been such an incredible support to the Ellen Hermanson Foundation. I mean, you're like a star in our book because you've been like so amazing, helping us through not just the past benefit, but previous benefits, and just helping us get the word out about what we do. And so thank you for that. And I think, mainly it's just providing a safe, comfortable place for people to share what they're experiencing. That's primary. Like no matter what you're going through, I'm here for you. What's happening? It's so important for people to have a safe place where they can just share whatever it is they're going through, because we know it's not always safe to talk to even family members or best friends.
Or close people. I've seen. And I've noticed that. I mean, even any kind of challenge, it seems there are people who can be there for certain things, and then it's not a fault or character defect. It's just how some people are. There is a shade that goes down, or if someone has an extreme diagnosis, or if someone even dies close to you, they just can't handle it. And I've seen that. But I think being able to share it with somebody safe, like you're saying, is so important to reach out, because you do feel alone in it, and you're struggling with a lot of different issues like that. So I applaud that you had that this service exists. Do you do group sessions as well? Is that helpful?
Yes, we are doing a lot of Zoom groups primarily, and the individual session can be on the phone or it can be through Zoom. And we all need, I don't care what we're going through, but especially if you've had a cancer diagnosis, or you're going through treatment, or you've completed treatment, or you have a scare, we all need resources that we can go to help us connect to all the resources we have inside us. I mean, we're not living life for anybody, but we're helping them kind of just let go of whatever it is they're experiencing first, and then kind of ground and stay stable and centered. And in essence, it's like we go from I can't do this to I can do this. I mean, really, that I see it as you go from I can't to I can. And it's really the next step. What do you have to do next? And so we provide this on an ongoing basis. We never, cancer is chronic. I mean, I'm looking at you and saying, it doesn't matter if you're 5 years, 10 years, it's always that little bugaboo in the background, right?
Yeah, it really, well, I always say something that my father always has said to me is you have to learn to manage your thoughts.
Yes.
And he's a physician, he's retired now, but I remember the first time I went for a follow-up, I had a lumpectomy, and it was like, they always have that category, and he's a radiologist, where they, if they find something, even if it's, and they check off probably benign. And I'm like, I just went through all this treatment and a surgery, and what do you mean probably benign? I was furious. And he said, what do they have to back themselves up? And he was yelling at me. He says, you have to manage your thoughts. And I do this impression. My father doesn't really sound like that. But he said, and the only way you'll feel better is with time. Which is there's a truth to that. I feel like I've coped okay with it. And I'm not sure if it's denial or the way I can distance and compartmentalize my thoughts, or it's just that I've been through some stuff. So I kind of feel like, really? Like, you don't scare me, which is something that Hoda Kotb, who had breast cancer, always used to say, you can't scare me. And and of course you can be scared, but do you know what I mean? Like that attitude has helped me during this. I always try to focus on what can I be grateful for,
Yes. I think you said something that so many of these awesome ladies that I have the privilege of working with have said, and they're like, we can take this, we can handle it. We feel bad for all the other people out there because they haven't been diagnosed with cancer, And so they feel like, if I've been through the treatment of cancer, which we know is not for the faint-hearted, it's pretty brutal. It doesn't matter whether somebody says, oh, I just had a lumpectomy and radiation, or I had mastectomy, or I had the whole works. I think it's important to recognize that, yes, past challenges do make us more resilient. and help us to manage stress a little better sometimes. And I think it's also important, I heard this wonderful phrase from somebody once, and she said, we have to acknowledge when life is difficult because we can't put chocolate frosting on poop cupcakes. Right? So, I mean, you can't just say, like you were saying, gratitude. Gratitude practice is so great as long as you're not bypassing the fact that you need empathy, or you need some kindness, or you just need to share something with somebody, or you just need to say, you know what, this is so difficult. I need help right now,
But 1 in 8 women, even though the treatments are far better than they were 20 years ago, right? But still, the same amount of women are still being and some men are being diagnosed. 1 out of 8 is not a great statistic, so it's going to happen with likelihood of somebody that you know. So you have to deal with it, What can you give us general tips? I mean, what in general can people do to calm themselves and to cope? And they don't have to necessarily be somebody with cancer, but I would think that they apply across, do they pre-visualize? What do they do?
Right. Well, I like to say the simpler and more pleasurable, the better. So, I mean, it can be as simple as, get up, move your body a little bit, step outside, take a breath of fresh air. I mean, we're always breathing, so breath is always there. And when we just start focusing on taking deep breaths, that immediately can help calm us down. Another beautiful practice is breathing as if you're breathing into your heart and breathing out of your heart. And just doing that, these are all proven scientific tools. Just kind of breathing into your heart space, your heart center, and breathing out can just help calm you down, can help your nervous system relax and, take you into parasympathetic. I mean, it's really so simple. The most important thing is just to get up and do something, get up, move your body, look up and smile. I mean, you think like, that's so weird, but if you look up and smile, you can't be unhappy, So you're using our body's innate intelligence to do things that are going to help us for the moment, not going to figure it out for the rest of our lives, but at least for the moment, something can help us.
Thank you. How can somebody reach you? We'll put it up at the end credits, but what is the best way for them to reach you and reach out to Ellen Hermanson Foundation?
Well, they can email me at edylcsw@optonline.net, or they can call 631-329-0520 or 631-786-3650 to text me. So any of those things can work.
Okay, great. We thank you so much. And I'm going to call you on my own. I think I have to call you. And I appreciate you being on Facts at 5. And we'll talk again about Ellen Hermanson. Give my love to everybody over there. Okay.
I will. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful afternoon, evening, whatever the rest of the day, okay?
Okay.
And I'm waiting for you to call me.
I'm going to call you like in 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.